The Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta.
Welcome to another edition of The Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta. As usual, I'm Edris Chigundu, your host. Please, our viewers, we urge you to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta. Joseph, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's been an interesting week, hasn't it?
Yeah, we have had a very eventful week. Of course, as you are aware, the axe finally fell on the speaker, Anita Mong. And in this entire project of the morning after and the transition politics that will happen after Museveni exits the stage, where do you place this incident of Anita's fall?
It's very important in that regard because, first of all, Anita has, let's just look a bit at it and not without trying to say the things that have already been said elsewhere. She has been used so much to weaken the opposition, first in her place at FDC, where she was sent by NRM, by Museveni specifically, to go and weaken them. She did a good job at that. Then she came and joined NRM, became speaker, from where she has continued to weaken the opposition as speaker, using money, using favors here and there, and getting people who would be antagonistic to government and buying them to herself, mostly to herself. But you see, she was destroying opposition, and the argument is not just for Museveni or for Muhoozi, but for herself, because it was clear that she was intending to have a go at the top seat. There is no doubt about that. There is no doubt that she had intentions of becoming president after Museveni. Now, she's just one of so many other people who will not come out to declare their presidential ambitions as long as the old man is still around. But they are not going to be, they are not comfortable with his chosen successor. And they are waiting for the right moment to come out. And many of them are within the NRM. But they might right now just appear to be subservient and just sit back, and everybody thinks that they're okay with the whole arrangement, and they will even go and, Kawanda will be bossing them all over. PLU says this, and they will keep quiet as long as the old man is still in town. But when he's not in town, and when he's not the one in control, everything is going to change. And now Anita, it was just the same thing as Amama Mbabazi. Amama Mbabazi spent a lot of time doing all the machinations of NRM, because he had been told he was supposed to take over after Museveni. So he was doing it for Museveni in the short term, but ultimately for himself as well, until he learned that it was a lie. Then Among also doing it, first of all, apparently for Museveni, but then also for herself, and it was clear. And I'm going to tell you why I know that for a fact, or why I'm convinced of that. First of all, there's all this, the way she ran Museveni's campaign. She has visited every constituency in the country. She has been all over the country. Now that is not somebody.
And donating huge sums of money.
She has been all over the country. She's pouring money everywhere. She's winning favors at all levels. She was running Museveni's campaign. Everywhere he goes, she's right there. She's the one receiving him. Where local NRM leaders would have been wanting to steal the show and be the ones to meet the president in their locality, Among is there. So every district, she's the one who is there, walking beside him and, very close to him. And I could sense she was getting a bit uncomfortable, but then, anyway, she was doing something that was necessary, because she would go and bribe all, opposition people, get them away from, or would be noob candidates, get them, give them some money and so on. But she was doing that not just for him, for herself. And now Museveni, of course, has enough sense, a lot of sense, to know that. So, but I'm sure her goose was cooked long before all of this. I'm sure Museveni decided in his head that this is the end of her. But typical Museveni, he does not start a fight unless he's ready to fight it. So he kept quiet. And on this one, he even kept it away from his son. Because if he had told his son that we are not backing Among and I'm bringing her down, he would have tweeted it. And that would have caused a bit of confusion, because Among had a lot of support. And Museveni must have seen it when at the Chankwazi, because he mentioned something casually, that, usually our speakers do 2 terms. Then the whole place erupted, showing that they were in support of Among. And now that is something that Museveni can forgive for so many things. But there are two things for which he cannot forgive you. One of course, is he gives you a platform and you want to use that platform to stand for president. That one is sacrilegious, sacrilegious as far as is concerned. The second one is stealing the show. And you see, these people don't understand, and they have worked with him for so long, and their political survival depends on him, but they still don't understand the way the man thinks. Because I remember in 2000, it must have been 2005 or 6, the first Big Brother Africa, the guy,
2004,
guy
when
around there,
Gaetano came back.
Gaetano, when he came back, and there was a whole load of people waiting for him for Entebbe, the whole road lined up for Entebbe airport. And this is just somebody who was famous because, we represent exploits, which we are not going to go into. But the thing is this, Museveni said something which shocked me. He said, this Gaetano, where was he when we were fighting? I said, this man is so jealous of public, affection, that even when it is somebody who is in entertainment, he does not want it. It all has to belong to him. Then I realized why the people who work with him and who know him very well, even his own brother, Sari, decided, come out of the news, retreat into the shadows, and wield some shadowy power, and don't go into stealing show. If you're all over and people are singing your praises, you won't fall out with Museveni. That is supposed to belong to him, in his mind. Now, so Amon comes and so everyone is cheering her and what she's giving 5 times the amount of money which the president gives, and people are cheering her. The president gives 20 million. She says, I'm giving 100 million. People cheer her. I mean, who does that? Now, he keeps quiet, but he was waiting for the right time. But then here are the things for which we have to understand. Number one, among all these visits to the Vatican are not innocent. The Vatican visiting the Pope is not just a religious leader. The Pope is a head of state. The Vatican is a country which has ambassadors all across. And the Catholic Church is a huge voting bloc here, to which so many opposition people have tried to, make themselves, apparently represent. From Gilbert Bukenya, remember the church told me, why are you meeting all these Baganda and Catholic leaders? Even Chagulanyi, the Catholic Church. Now, Among was trying to go and endear herself to the Catholic Church, but for her, she was doing it at a much higher level, not here. She was going to the Vatican and even taking an offering for the Pope. There are things which are, now that wasn't just about her being a good Catholic. There is something, she was, that's it. That's Anglican. She apparently is whatever. Now, that was about quoting the Catholic support. And quoting it for what? To be speaker? No. Something bigger than speaker. But then there's something else she did. They gave her, now this is where I think she really crossed the line. They gave her security, official security as the speaker. Then she went and retired her security and went and got a DPC from Bukede and trained her own security. The security which the government gave her, which of course is there to spy on her, she removed it and got her own and even took some for training to come and be her security. Now, when you do that, you're basically saying, because anybody who is in public office, appointed by or supported, not appointed, but supported by the president, he has to spy on you. That is given.
That should be counterintelligence.
Yeah. Now, you go and remove your security, then you get security who are favorable to you. Then, on top of that, then she went to Israel, I'm told. She went to Israel and got signal jamming equipment. Because now these are the things which,
Only the president has a signal jamming.
Yes. He's supposed to have a signal everywhere. Even now, right now, as we are recording this podcast, as long as there are phones here, he's listening. If he wants to, that is. But now she went and got a signal jamming equipment, which means even Kadaga did it, and that was the beginning of her downfall.
Kadaga even wanted a chopper.
Forget chopper. Signal jamming equipment, because he has to know what you're doing, even in your bedroom, if you are going to be somebody supported by him. So anyway, she got a signal jammer, so she had a safe space there at her home in Nakasero, where you can say things that nobody else hears. Now you can't do that. Then she went beyond that, I'm told, and was even trying to tap into what is being said the other side, near at plot 1 Nakasero. Now when they came to break into her house. They asked her, because there was this safe, they asked her, I am told that give us the password for this thing. She refused. So they brought this machinery and they went and broke inside. What they wanted is to get the information that she had. They were not interested in the money. The money, the corruption, the Rolls Royce were just for public consumption, and that was all prepared.
To just to cover.
It was all prepared earlier on to people talk about that. But the real thing is, you can't be visiting every constituency in the country as a speaker. Remember, even when she said that the parliament is going to go and have sessions all over the country.
Yes.
That was her auditioning for president.
And after one such session, the president stopped her.
He stopped it. That was her. He knew what she was doing. And by that time, she was already cooked. She just didn't know it. Because that was her auditioning to have some control across the country. Because if you want to be president, you can't just sit somewhere in parliament and, you're not. So she was trying to extend
reach all corners
of the country. So by that time, she was already cooked, by the way. She just didn't know it. So the reality is, the signal jammer, those visits to Vatican, trying to tap into State House, the money was not a problem. Nobody ever fell out with Museveni over corruption. Not a single person. It has never happened. If he doesn't care how you steal, it's not what's important is not that you steal the money, but how you use it. If you are using it for political purposes, then now you're crossing a line. But if you're using it for ostentation and to feel sweet and flamboyant and what, if she was just driving Rolls Royce and what, without the political ambitions, she would have been safe. She would have been a speaker. And now he knows, with such an ambition and with that money and with her what she was doing with MPs, where she could summon 300 MPs just like that, and they show up 300 MPs just like that. Now that is power. Because those are 300 constituencies. I know. And now that is somebody who has too much power. And now where are you going with that power? Museveni knows you don't have enough power to unseat him. But now he's concerned about his son. He has spent a lot of time hammering off every opposition person who is of any significance to make it easier for his son to prepare, the table for his son. Now Among comes, and she comes from within his own structure. Now the other opposition political people who he cannot hit off very easily because he's not the one who made them, but he's the one who made Among. Now you can't come on his watch and he promotes you and then you turn around and want to, stumble his preferred, successor. That's the whole thing. But the security thing was a very major thing. You were saying?
Yeah. I saw you talked about how she went around the country trying to promote her ambitions. I remember during the last elections when they in Rengo, Among summoned two people to the podium. There's Sisi Namuju, the Oman MP, and a certain MP called Sentai. It seems they were not getting on well with each other. So he said, I want you to reconcile here and now. But if you saw the look on Museveni's face as Sentai and Namuju reconciled, exchanged hugs, you could tell that he wasn't, because the tone in which he said, as what I'm ordering you to reconcile, drop your differences, reconcile here and now. So the two moved out in front, but the president looked at actually his gaze was directed towards Among, not the two. But that force with which she said, you could smell that there would be trouble for her.
But the one thing for which you have to give him credit is he decides what he's going to do, but he waits for the right time. Now, the whole leaking of the Rolls Royce thing was all about the timing. That's why things seem to have compiled one after the other, because it was all orchestrated. Of course. Not for the reasons for which people think. Of course, everyone who has known Museveni all this while knows that the corruption is not going to make you fall out with Museveni. What is going to make you fall out with him is trying to steal the show on him. That one, even Gaetano, who was coming from Big Brother, scared Museveni and he was, where was he when we were fighting? Like, that is pettiness, okay. The only thing I think in which he's petty, because he's not a petty man, the only thing I think in which he's petty is when it comes to attention, because he wants it all to himself. Now, even his people, his own people, his own brother, Shadow, be in the shadow. That's how you're going to survive with him. Now, for you, you want rented power, and you think that. But you see now that shows, since we are talking about the morning after, that shows that there are so many people. Among was just one of them. There are so many people who are quietly waiting for the time when Museveni is no longer president. Then they will lift their head and state their ambitions very clearly. That is definitely going to happen. There are so many, many of them are going to be in the NRM. And right now, as long as the old man is there, they will be quiet. But they will come out at some stage. So the idea that it is going to be smooth sailing from father to son is the biggest fallacy that there is. It is not going to be. Now, that is just one part. Now, that one was let's say, careless. And because she became too flamboyant and naive and got carried away, so she got detonated right now. But what if she had actually played a fool, totally played a fool, pretended that she was into all this, accepted the security they gave her, made sure she watches everything she says. By the way, you should find out who the $10 million belongs to, which they found coming in a container.
Now I hear it belonged to her.
Yes, it did. So, and what is that money coming in for? And you know, all this is politics, and he knew it. And he has been tracking all these things because apparently it was coming every quarter. That's how they got to know it was coming. So he has been tracking all these things, but he waited for clearly, you've seen a lion that is waiting to strike and waiting for the antelope to come within striking distance at the right time. Because if it runs so fast, it will lose out. So if it runs, so he's been like that, waiting for the right time. And then he set the time up and made sure there's something for the people. Corruption, Royce, what? That is guaranteed to get representation. While for him, he was in. Do you know they entered the house? I'm told they did not even take a single coin out of it.
But they found money.
The money was there, they saw it, but they went for the other security.
For
those gadgets which was using to jam equipment, to jam signals, and also apparently to tap from Nakasero. That's what they went for, and they got it and carried and went away.
But Joseph, don't you think now this leaves Muhoozi in a much stronger position if people who would be opponents within the system, within the NRM, are weakened or are chopped? Don't you think now you saw the kind of swagger he moved with during the swearing in? He was like a heir apparent. You saw people, delegations, big people, including even Among, rushing to greet him and what. Even himself, he sat actually for the first time. I'd never seen a CDF sit exactly behind the president in the CDF, whether it was General Katumba Amara, whether it was Aronda Njake, because usually it's the ADC who's in that position. But if you are very observant during the swearing-in ceremony, Muhoozi sat directly behind the president. Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's the heir.
And he projected some bit of power. And you remember, even after the swearing-in, that's when PLU issues a statement that we have retracted the earlier thing and all that. I mean, don't you think? I mean, you're saying that for you keep insisting that it's the Muhoozi transition or is a fallacy. It will never happen.
Here's the thing. All this is happening. You get my point properly. As long as Museveni is still around, Muhoozi is going to be as big as he is, to the point that he even sends Kabanda to announce who the next speaker is. Kabanda is the one who came at the party of Oboth and said that, yeah, so I'm here to announce to you that Oboth is the next speaker. Eh? Not saying vote for him as next speaker, he's saying he's the next speaker. And that is it, and that's Kabanda, because it's coming from PLU. And all that, as long as that old man is still there.
And then he told them to stand up to clap for him.
Yes.
Remember?
And everybody, including Amelia Chamba there and what. I was looking at the people who were there. And I'm like, okay. Now the man on the catwalk apparently is Kabanda. There was a time when, there were so many other people, but let me not go there. So the point is, all that, don't let what happens when Museveni is still here and president fool you about what is going to happen when he's gone. It is going to be different. It is going to be different. And people will arise whom you did not even think, forgetting about even those whom you know, who have once expressed interest in being president. There are so many others who are wiser than that, who are not as perhaps naively ambitious as Among was, to come out at the wrong time. They are quiet. They are seated behind there. Some of them might even have been people who have been in the system for a while. They will keep quiet until the right time comes. Then they will show their heads. And by the way, you will be shocked when they show their heads, because it is not going to be easy to just get rid of them like that. The way he says, those ones, former CDFs who did not attend my run, then he tweets about what?
You have an explanation.
Yes.
You must explain.
All that is when this man is still around. So now I don't know if people really understand that everything changes when the old man is not there.
And it depends on in how he goes. Because the point, I mean, Joseph, one senior army officer told me one of the best thing that Museveni has done for this country is to centralize power within himself and try to weaken any emerging. And he told me that's very good for the transition. I said, why? How? Because, I was trying to say that if the president all of a sudden died suddenly or something happened to him, we would see this scuffle. He said, no, actually there wouldn't be scuffle. He said, the fact that he has centralized power in his hands, it means that there won't be any one powerful force. Then I say, but the sun is there. The sun is the CDF. He will be there. The sun is there.
Then what did he say?
He said he believes the son can only take over that chair when the father is alive. But in circumstances where the father dies or leaves power in a very unfortunate way, it means that his power, the son's power base is also gone. And you see, the best thing with him centralizing power is that it's easy for a country to come to a consensus and say, okay, let the current vice president. Because, the army commander didn't have power. The boss of ISO didn't have power. The boss of MI didn't have power. The IGP doesn't have power because a lot of power he has centralized power. So he said, he was giving an example, and he gave an example of Zenawi, I think who died? Zenawi. He said, you see, when Zenawi died, the transition in Ethiopia was smooth. Do you see any logic in that kind of thing? So he was saying that, but he was saying that as long as that if he's still alive and tries to pass on the torch, something that he doubts Museveni will do. Because for as long as I think he's alive and breathing, I think he still sees himself as president. If that transition could be possible, but if the transition comes after an unfortunate incident or something like that, he said he believes that Muhoozi won't have any power.
I totally agree with him, by the way, because if Museveni had actually wanted it to happen, like really, he could have stepped back, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago, one way or another, and then given him a time to put his foot on the ground while Museveni is still in the background. But he can't do that. The man is totally addicted to power. Without power, he would die immediately. If you take power away from him, he has no reason to live. So he cannot do that. He has to do it in such a way that he eliminates all the would-be opponents and so on. But the opponents come from nowhere, even those who have never expressed themselves. I mean, even Idris here can wake up and say, I want to be president. And you can't kick off everybody. There is no way you can. Then what he fears is somebody who has the ability to mobilize, somebody who has a grouping behind them, okay? And somebody who has some foreign influence. So if you go and start going abroad and getting some influence from somewhere, from some foreign countries, which is what also made Among very, deadly as far as is concerned, or if you're in some country and somehow they are pushing your interests and what, that now, and then here you have the ability to mobilize, now that's when he thinks you're a threat, okay? Now, what he has done is he's taken his son all over the world, China, where telling them this is the heir apparent and so on. But they are not going to involve themselves in local politics. Whoever it is that comes out, China will deal with them. They do not deal with that's how they are. They don't want to involve themselves in local politics. So he has to get his ground here, and he has to build his base right here. And the base has got to be built by people who think they have a lot to benefit from him being there. As of now, there are very few. Beyond Mwenda, Kabanda, and now you're seeing even Gashumba is even quarreling and very angry
with Kabanda.
With Kabanda and the whole PLU thing. So the people who really think that they stand to benefit from a Muhoozi presidency are a handful. Those are not enough to push him, to propel him to the seat. Now that's what I was talking about the other time. There has to be a number of people who feel that in all places, even the people who be put there, who be thinks they are easy. I know they are there in the military, in the civil service, in government MDAs and so on, who are there. But that's a very thin thing. Remember, among, look at how everybody has run away from her.
Yeah, all our allies.
All our allies. That's what happened to Mbabazi. Mbabazi came out and was seated with a meeting of opposition guys. I don't know what it was called. TDA. And I was telling them that I have my structures within movement.
Even within the Electoral Commission. Actually, he said, I've been the brain behind it.
Yes.
I know how we have been changing results.
Yes, and he knew actually, and he has been the brain. There was no doubt. But basically told him, you don't have anybody. You have nobody. You have nothing. They don't think you have anybody. Now, as soon as he stepped away from there, and all the people he was counting on, all of them abandoned him. And
some even were imprisoned, by the way. Some of the people who were close to him in intelligence were in prison.
And now you just have to imprison 1, 2, all the others run out.
Send a message.
Strike the shepherd, and the sheep scatter. That's what it is. Everybody denies you like Peter.
Even it happened to Kale Kayihura. I know people were saying I'm his AD, they used to move around with pistols. But I met them after they said, I didn't know him. I was working. And they said, the Barroso has run away out of the country.
Everybody. Yes. Well, there's the other guy of Chitata. What was he called? The guy of
Chitata. He was arrested. He was rejected. All of them.
Everybody takes off. All those who are with you. So now, basically said, he told Kayihura, he told Mbabazi, you have nobody. Now that's the thing. In politics, now there are people who are all around Muhoozi. But as soon as anything changes, you'll see. They will all split and you remain alone. Unless you've actually built a network, which fortunately for Uganda, he doesn't have the capacity to. It has all been built by his father. He does, and let nobody fool you, he does not have that capacity. He does not have the temperament. Because for you to build people and build loyalty, you have to have a certain sense of empathy, of going out. People who have built political alliances, they are in funerals, they are they take time to find out what's happening with people. There are people. When I was campaigning, I went to places where I met people who would shock you. You meet somebody there, and they tell you that person, he looks like a lousy person at the village. There's a church I went to in Toroko, and there was a lady who was a pastor. There was a lady, and she gave me to preach. She received me as a preacher. So she said, come and give us the word this Sunday. Then somebody told me that that woman, she talks directly to Museveni. If she calls, Museveni will pick the phone.
But she looks ordinary.
Very ordinary, very ordinary. But and now there are so many people across who give him what is actually happening on the ground. Now that's what it takes. Now those are people who would call even if he's busy. It is registered that so and so want to talk to you, and you call them back. But they are not people in
this formal structure.
No, a minister will wait 3 or 4 months or 5 months without seeing him. But that guy will get on the phone on a cabinet and call him, and the man will pick and tell him what's wrong, what's up. Then he says there's something here on this village and so on. So now it is a very difficult thing.
So you suspect she reported you that Joseph is here now preaching to us, deceiving us, trying to convert us, You suspect after that.
She can only report. She can only report to somebody who has any authority over me. If I was somebody who needed anything from Museveni, or whoever got anything from Museveni, I would be concerned about that. But I'm a very free man because I've never wanted him. I've never needed him. There is nothing he has that I want, and there is nothing he has that I will ever want.
He can offer you a ministerial post.
There is nothing Museveni has that I want or that I will ever want. Impossible. The only thing I want is for him to leave us this country and we run it the way a country is supposed to be run, not as a family business. That's the only thing from which I want. Nothing. That's nothing. I don't want any of position. He offers me what?
Ministerial position.
I want his position. I don't want ministerial. And he's offering me his position.
Of course, you can never do that on a silver platter.
No, yes, I'll get it one way or another. But the thing is, you're not going to. There's nothing he has that I want. Now, so I don't move. But now, if you're the kind of mongo, somebody who has built on his platform, then you have to be careful about people like that. Because I was told even with the Minister of Energy, there were oil deals and what, and people were plotting things and what, and there was this man whom they would say, go and photocopy this document, go and photocopy. That is the man who had the direct line to the president. So by the time the people who actually matter went to meet him, he knew everything that they had been talking. That's how you do your things. Either through, so now when people start buying signal jammers, there is no safe space.
It means that there's some information they want to keep away.
Of course. And you can't have a safe space when you are when you head one of the three segments of government, and you need his support to continue heading it. You cannot be somebody who has a safe space anywhere. Even when you get on the flight to travel, they will put somebody there who will pretend to be going where you're going.
Remember when Jim Muhoozi's bag was stolen at the airport in the UK, at Heathrow?
I don't remember.
No, he had arrived and he had gone to the immigration, and you
put your bag
down. The hand luggage. Just a few you were talking about when it wasn't there. It wasn't there.
And now that he's not a thief.
Of course, Jim suspected someone from ESO or within our intelligence, because I think that bag must have been carrying some certain documents. Apparently, that's what I heard. But it was widely reported.
They spy. What do you think all the classified expenditure is for? It's for spies. They spy on you. Then they send you to spy on somebody. Then they send somebody to spy on you. Then they are all spying on each other.
It's a spy ring.
It's a spy ring. And you cannot come out of it by saying, I'm going to Israel to go and buy signal jammers. So that I can be in a safe space.
Signal jammer get into the country through even your clearance and everything? Because a lot of that equipment, you need clearance of Ministry of Defense and that.
Let me tell you.
Even when you're buying a drone.
You're talking about somebody who had people in the judiciary, who had people everywhere. That woman had built a system everywhere.
She was employing children of judges in parliament.
Yes.
In the parliamentary commission.
Yes, and she passes judges without hearings. And then she employs their children. She was becoming so powerful. She was building a power base that was not headed for speakership. It was headed way beyond speakership. And of course, everybody, and once she started denying that, I just want to, I knew she was hooked. And everybody was denied wanting to be president. Ended up in a bad place.
So, Joseph, where do you see, is it the last of, do you think we have seen the last of Amon?
No, it has to be a last of political.
Could she make a comeback in any certain way?
It's going to go down the same path as Gilbert Bukenya, as Amama Mbabazi, as all of them. Remember how Gilbert Bukenya was. He stole his money from Chogam, went and built a very lousy hotel. Which has. Oh no! Have you been there? Have you been there? It's lousy, lousy in capitals. And when he was in government, it was getting some, seminars and what from government ministries. As long as he was there. Now, when he left government, it was no longer getting that. So now it
became an empty shell.
Yeah, it became some shell there, and he hardly there. So now when Museveni came, they agreed He came out when everybody was against Museveni. Kenya came out and said, for me, he's working with Museveni, he's the best candidate, and they gave him something to go by. Now, so a token. Now, even Amama and Babazi, the same thing. You go down that path, you fight the man, he first humiliates you, then
take him to court.
Then you come back in humility. Now, Mama Babazi was lucky because his daughter got married to a son of a president. And that kind of made it difficult because now the president of South Africa was here as a father-in-law, and these people have still a lot of money and take it to South Africa. So the president of South Africa comes here. Somehow the president had to be there, you see. So they somehow they had to mend faces, and they were at Mama's home and so on. But eventually, the last picture of Amama and Babazi with the president was him holding a khaki envelope. Of course, just a khaki envelope. But you know, there are things which tell us.
It contained an invitation letter.
That's the point. But they take a picture which portrays something. And that was the end when he was following Museveni looking at cows. With a khaki envelope. Man, that was the ultimate humiliation. That is to send a message to all the people who are with you that here is your guy. You see, this is the end of him. So that's how. So Anita Mong will go down the same path.
Joseph, as we leave that topic and we drift back into the economy, the morning after the economy, Parliament passed a budget of 84 trillion shillings, but 30% of that is going to go towards debt servicing. 30% of that budget.
Not 30.
I think upwards of 30.
No,
towards debt servicing.
Actually, 44% is going to go to 44%.
It's going to go towards debt servicing.
Yes, because it is 84 trillion. I think as far as I remember, 33 trillion is going towards debt servicing. 10 trillion is going towards recurrent expenditures, paying salaries
and
allowances and travel allowances, per diem and so on. Then another 8 trillion for other also recurrent expenditures, people buying this and that and so on. So the money that is there, but for me what was of interest to me so much, and we shall discuss this ultimately in consequent shows, is that last year, the projection, we haven't yet crossed the line. We'll cross it on June 30th. But the projection of taxes was 37 trillion.
That's the target that given URA.
The target they gave URA. And we are waiting to see whether, I'm sure they will surpass it by time it's June 30th. 37 trillion. But now, they are supposed to collect 44 point something trillion. That next financial year. That is an extra trillion shillings that has to be squeezed out of this economy without that much growth in this economy, without anything coming. The money from oil revenue, which has showed up, is 1.1 something trillion, very little money. Now, of all that the domestic revenue, most of it is going to come from taxes. And that means 7 trillion shillings has to be extra from this year in which already people are being squeezed and has been, a year of absolute austerity as far as so many people are concerned. Now it's going to get worse because now get it and multiply it like by 3, and then you will know what the next year is going to look like. And now when you look at this, how we are paying a lot of 44% in debt servicing, and that those debts are increasing, then you know that, you know what a president of a neighboring country once said, and rightly so. He said that Uganda is run like a country which is going to close down tomorrow. You remember that?
I think I've heard something.
He said it, and it was a very accurate depiction of the finances, the financial, behavior of our country. It's as if we are going to close down tomorrow. Because now what happens when we can no longer get an extra? Because how is the government getting, here's the thing, how is government getting the extra money? Mostly from loans, okay? Who is giving, how are they getting those loans? Either from commercial banks, from money lenders in other countries, in the region, Kenya, or from selling government bonds.
And that's
the commercial bank.
Domestic borrowing.
But the domestic borrowing. So the commercial banks go and buy government bonds and, at an interest. And that's how they get the money. Now, how do they pay back that money? How do they pay back those bonds? By taxing people more. So if you're now a taxpayer, if you're a corporate worker, let's say like yourself, you earn a salary, you're going to pay your pay as you earn and what, then you go and put your savings in the bank, then the bank goes and buys government bonds to lend the government. Then how does government pay back those bonds? By taxing you extra. Yet even the bonds came from you to the bank. So somehow there is nowhere to, and the austerity is going to become worse as we go ahead. Why? Because number one, there is no appetite whatsoever from the leadership to cut down on overspending. There is a lot of useless expenditure going on. They are not cutting any beef. They are just, growing expenditure, and you move a budget from 72. The last budget was 70. This year, the one ending 30th, 72 trillion.
Now it's 84.
So we have increased by 12 trillion.
So the appetite for spending
is increasing. And now the last one, I could say it was because it was an election year. Yeah. Now we are out of election. What is the justification for an extra 12 trillion of expenditure?
I think we are going to put more money. The government says it's going to put more money in infrastructure, in roads, like the Fort Portal and Museveni. They want to finish all those things. I don't want to depend so much on the donors. That's one of the justification why they want more money.
One of them they are talking about is the Ginger Expressway, which they have been talking about for 7 years, close to 7 years now. And now that is taking a lot of money off that budget framework. Ginger Expressway, about...
I think it's compensating the people on the way?
No, the people are already compensated. It is actually now building the expressway. The people are already compensated. Now the trouble is that the 7 years for which they were, after 7 years of compensation, if nothing has done, they can easily get back. So that's the compensation is not the problem. That has already been accomplished. But the building of the expressway, that's one of the main things they are talking about. But still the manner in which government spends money. Now look at all the money which is spent in ministries for buying vehicles. There are vehicles which, I'll tell you this, I had a vehicle which I used to take to repair at Toyota, where government take their vehicles. And I thought that was the best thing. But now the people at Toyota came and went and put different oil from what it's supposed to put. Because it's supposed to have synthetic oil, so they put the cheaper oil. But now that's at the level of, the worker. These workers who is trying to make enjaul. So he puts a fake oil in my car, then the car starts spewing oil. Spewing smoke. Yes. Now, if I was a government worker, I would just throw the car away and get another car. But because I'm not a government worker, I had to go and look for some place where I can actually repair that. And they told me I have to send for a special component from Japan to come and fix that. That's what the mechanic told me. I've been trying to do that and taking a while. All that. If I was a government worker, I don't have it. Because there are cars which are...
You just write it off.
Just write it off. Because, I'm not the one buying the next one. Somebody else is buying it. But now there are cars which you find in those yards. The other day I was at...
Ministry of Health.
Yes. In those yards. Some of them are 2018, 2019 model. By Ugandan standards, that is new. But because government workers, they don't care. They are not the ones buying. A car which is 2020 model, by Ugandan standards, is new. But by government standards, it's
5 years.
It's 5 years. And
government is 5 years.
And if they would only look after them properly and sell them at an auction and get some money back, but then you'll find them in yards. And you find cars which are close to new in yards. And close to new by our standards. So now all those are recurring expenses. If we actually would cut down on some of that beef, it would help so many of the taxpayers who are already burdened. As I told you, one taxpayer caters for 20 people who do not pay taxes. Now Museveni, once he has his trillion shillings to give his peasants, to pay them to stay in peasantry and to vote for NRM, through parish development model. And then he gets these other ones. Once he gets money, gives to parliament. That's why he doesn't care about amounts corrupted, because parliament passes a budget, that is there. As long as you pass what he wants, that's your money. If you reduce the budget, if you increase it, that's your business. As long as you don't get into his politics. And then other things for which are important to him, the rest he will just send you a to come and squeeze you until you cry and scream, and then he squeezes you some more.
Joseph, we examined the ministerial statements of the various government departments and agencies for this coming financial year. And we noticed that not all of them have a component of entertainment and welfare. So when you add up all that across all agencies and ministries, government next year is going to spend ministries and agencies are going to spend a total of 1.7 trillion shillings on entertainment and allowances for their workers. Entertainment and welfare.
You know,
and you know this, what is entertainment? Holding the end of year party, doing this and this. That's too much money.
That is a lot of money.
1.7 trillion shillings across.
Poverty in Uganda exists at a certain level. When you go above a certain level, we are a very rich country because we spend like bourgeois at a certain level. It's only when you go beneath it that somebody wants 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings, but elsewhere 1.7 trillion shillings for entertainment. I mean, there is a complete stilt against the poor people of this country. Unfortunately, the people continue voting for this system. Because if they rose up, if you notice, the group of people who can come up and say something and change the president's mind are peasants. There was a time they increased the amount of money that they were for mobile money, for withdrawing.
Yeah, those charges.
Charges. And village people stood up. They reduced it because those are Museveni's voting bloc.
Yeah.
Now, for you in the city, regardless of what you say, he does not give a hoot about anything you have to say.
Because he knows you don't vote for him.
Number one, you don't vote for him. Number two, you don't have the majority. You're a minority. You're just a few people. And number three, you are good at talking.
And not voting.
And sometimes even not voting. And you're good talkers, as basically was saying that what? That this elite are useless. Very useful. So anyway, 1.7 trillion, that is crazy for entertainment. But then it's par for the course. That's the way they've been doing things. And nothing new there. And Museveni once said that the civil servants are the ones who removed Obote from power. I don't know why he says that.
And another shocking statistic.
So maybe he has to appease them and make sure civil servants are busy and well placated so that they don't start thinking about politics. And
another shocking statistic from those, from the one of State House, the ministerial policy principal of State House, the president was allocated 420 billion, this coming 420 for donations. That comes down to 37 billion shillings per month. An average of 37, 38 billion. The president has an allowance to donate 38 billion shillings per month. That's the donations budget. Talk about donations only.
Well, I mean, like we can talk budget piece by piece, but if even the speaker had how many billion for donations? Close to 20.
20.
Close
to 20, which is
who is the speaker donating?
Which is roughly 1.23 million a day. A month, 1.3 billion a month.
But this is getting interesting because Ugandans love political drama. And I'm sure they have been so satisfied in the last week because they have had their fill of political drama.
That could be a distraction.
Distraction. Maybe, but they want drama.
One thing the president has learned about Ugandans is that they are easily distracted. Distract them, then you do something else in the background.
No, but this wasn't a distraction. This was an actual detonation of somebody who was going to be a major problem if she had been let to go along. And she has been a problem for a while. I think the president just decided now was the best time to take her down.
And the president has scored points in your view. So it enhances the president's image in the eyes of the population.
And because they would
think it's a fight of corruption.
That's what they would think is fighting corruption, but it has nothing to do with corruption. They didn't even touch the money. they found in house, which was, they didn't touch it. They were not interested in the money. They were interested in something else. So, and by the way, I'll tell you this. Remember the person who was shot outside?
The lady who was
shot outside the house. Yeah, the person was there to spy. That person was a spy. Was there to spy on her and to see what kind of equipment there was inside there. So she had been there, rotating there for a while. So when the speaker went to Bukedea, she gave an order that if that person comes back, shoot them.
I don't know about that. That's a serious allegation, Joseph.
Well, I'm saying it. So it wasn't, so either you believe me or you believe Chris Obore, who said that the policeman bumped his car on his gun on the bonnet of the car, and the bullet discharged. So which one is more believable?
That was comical.
Which one is more believable? That's one.
Meaning that the bullet was already in the chamber.
So either you believe me or you believe Obore that the bullet discharged itself after somebody did an accident. It reminds me of a story in Saudi Arabia of a sheikh who was accused of rape and taken to court. And the man said that he did not rape, he just slid and fell in.
That is made up.
No, it's not made up.
So he slid and he fell in.
No, it's not made up. So it was in the media.
Because
and you know what happened? The court actually acquitted him.
Dress.
The court acquitted him. He said that it wasn't intentional. I just slid and fell.
He must have been a prominent sheikh.
Of course.
I think Joseph shall end it here for today. Please, our viewers, don't forget to subscribe to The Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta on our YouTube channel. Thanks for being part of the show. Till next time, bye-bye.